All right, y'all. Um, Aaron Siler Burdash. I think that I'm finally 4 years on testosterone. Um, I just don't. I apologize for being I guess absent from my channel for so long. Like I said, I just graduated from trade school at Newcastle School of Trade for building, construction, and engineering. I did graduate with wait for it, on the dean's list with an associate's degree. That's big because although when I first started school, I told myself I was going to graduate on the dean's list. Once I really got into it, I was like, you know what? Just graduating is enough for me. I did not go to my graduation because I moved to Austin, Texas from Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio. But I did get my degree and my report card or whatever in the mail, and I did graduate on the dean's list. So I guess it's a lot and not a lot to update. You know what I mean? Like I said, I moved to Austin, Texas. I did graduate on the dean's list with my associate's degree. And I also got my top surgery, my mastectomy. I got my mastectomy done by Dr. Izikoff. He is in Cleveland, Ohio. He does take health insurance. I got mine done and 100% paid for by United Healthcare. The results was amazing. The procedure itself, I went into it afraid and nervous, and I came out of it just as refreshed as anybody could think that I did. You know, that more, I guess, just as refreshed as anybody could be. You know, but I will say the pain was very minimal. The scarring was minimal, and they treated me well. You know what I mean? Like I opted to stay overnight prior instead of driving the hour and a half back home. And they treated me good. They did. You know what I mean? Like I didn't experience discrimination or not even misgendering. You know, he showed me how the placement of the nipple went, which was great. That was one of my hugest concerns, was whether or not my nipples would be where my nipples needed to be. But I didn't deal with discrimination or misgendering or anything like that. They gave me a menu. I was able to choose what I ate. The experience itself was, I guess, refreshing to say the least. They did keep me comfortable. I had a problem with peeing, as maybe y'all don't know that. Sometimes when you're under anesthesia, your bladder goes to sleep too, and you'll wake up before your bladder does. It took me hours before I was able to pee. I couldn't pee for shit, you know what I mean? I ended up having to train myself to pee, and that was, I was naked in the shower at the hospital with the water running on me. And that's how I taught myself that's how I kind of woke it up. But once my bladder was awake and I was able to pee, I went home, and I'm not gonna say it was painful. It was uncomfortable. I had the drainages, and they were uncomfortable. It kept me out of work and out of school for 2 weeks. They recommend between 5 days to 2 weeks, and I guess my best advice to anybody getting a mastectomy would be to take the 2 weeks, because it was very uncomfortable. I finally got my drains out. I would say within the first week I got my drains out. Matter of fact, it was probably 3 to 4 days after I got my drains out. But I was still out of school. It feels like I was out of school for 2 weeks. That's what it feels like. It feels like I was out of school and off work for 2 weeks. Transitioning from Ohio to Austin isn't really that big of a transition. I guess if I'd have came later in the year, like more so when it was really cold in Ohio and snowing, and then it would be like hot here. But the transition wasn't that bad because when I got here, it was raining, and maybe 3 weeks into being here, it's been raining. It's sunny outside, but it's still cold. Not as cold as Ohio, obviously. I think today is like 61 degrees, so it's not that bad. The weather is cool. It's not really that much of a culture shock because, I mean, being around Mexicans and Puerto Ricans, I feel like it's the same as being around black people because, you know, we're all black and brown and we're like one family, you know what I mean? So it really wasn't that big of a culture shock. As y'all see, I did go bald. I cut my hair off. My hair started thinning. And I don't know if it was the testosterone. Maybe my levels were too high, and they weren't. I mean, too high, I guess, for my hair follicles. Nobody else could really notice that my hair was going thin or that I was going bald, but I noticed it. You know what I mean? Like when I got haircuts, my hair texture was changing, my hairline was going back, and to be honest, it really wasn't that bad. It was just I wanted to know what I looked like with a bald head. You know what I mean? In case the inevitable happened, I needed to know whether or not I was going to be cool, if I needed to be one of the motherfuckers walking around with a toupee. What do I plan to do with my construction degree? Honestly, I never went to school to be on nobody's construction team. I only plan to work for somebody for another year or two. I plan to go into real estate, and most importantly, I plan to go and help the misfortunate or the less fortunate. I plan to open up not only a homeless shelter, but also a group home for children exiting foster care. I know a lot of y'all may not know, but a lot of times when you turn 18 in foster care, if you have not been adopted, either you go to a group home or they put you in this thing called adult living, or they'll just kick you out of it altogether. You know, so people look at homeless people and they feel like, you know, they're just out there being lazy, and a lot of times it's not that case. You know, that too can be you, and I think that is the easiest way to put it to somebody who feel like homeless people are lazy. You know, they just don't want to do nothing. That too can be you. Anything can happen. You know what I mean? Like, shit definitely happens. I mean, look at the government being shut down. You know, shit happens, and they are the result of shit happening. You know, don't get me wrong. There's some of them out there that enjoy it. I met a man that liked being homeless, but all of them, it's not that case for everybody. You know what I mean? A lot of times it's people exiting foster care that don't have nowhere to go. They choose to go to the military or the army or the Air Force, and they promise them, you know, this, and they promise them that, and they get home and they still don't have nothing. You know what I mean? And how easy is it for people who have an address and somebody to call when you need help, you know, and a shower to take when you want to get a job, versus somebody who doesn't have any of that. It doesn't have, you know, direct contact, or, you know, I just think it's a shame that we live in an age where people no longer think it's cool to look out for one another. You know what I mean? You know, all those reposts of less fortunate people that people laugh at it. I just think my heart is too big for it, and it is just something that's always been my calling, and something that's always, you know, tugged at my heart, you know. And people always ask me, like, you know, you're not gonna make a lot of money doing that. What is that main quote? Do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Money has never been a big thing for me. I'm not big on like labels and how much you spend on money. Anybody will tell you, I don't even buy that many shoes a year, you know, and I'm content with it. I don't need expensive clothes, so I honestly don't need something that's gonna make me $1 billion. All I need is something that's gonna supplement my dream, and that's it. You know what I mean? And that's it. If I can have more time to do what it is that I love and spend with the people that I love, then I would say that I lived a fulfilling life. You know, I have an Instagram. That Instagram is Seer, SYE underscore SEER. You can also follow me on Facebook, Siler Burdash Hill. I want to give a shout out to Psy. I think his is PHI. He's always asking me when I'm gonna get on YouTube how he missed my videos. Oh, this is the reveal. Hope y'all can still see me. I have minimal scarring. I think I healed pretty fucking well. My nipples, you said it would take years or, months or, 6 months before that nipple color started to come back. And as y'all see, it did start to come back. It is still kind of sore. I still have to readjust myself when I'm laying on my stomach. But as y'all can see, the scarring isn't that bad. And I will say that I didn't use nothing. And possibly if I was to, then the scarring would be even more minimal. But I honestly just use regular antibacterial ointment. And that's all I use, regular A&D ointment. And I put it on. I use cocoa butter when after I get out the shower, and I really don't do much, but somebody wanted me to talk about a couple topics. Homophobia in the trans community. Now I will say that I used to be one of them people, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna pretend when I first was transitioning, I didn't feel oh my God, how do you transition and then like men? But the more I transitioned, the more I realized that gender and sexuality are not the same things. The more I realized that, it's the energies of people. I guess to each his own, but in my experience, a lot of homophobic ways and transphobic ways usually come from love and jealousy, and that's just what it is. A lot of the studs that used to bash me earlier in my transition have eventually messaged me about possibly transitioning. A lot of studs and other females that bashed me about never wanting to date a trans man or whatnot. A lot of those have inboxed me and approached me in a romantic way. So I don't deal a lot with negativity. So if it is somebody that's transphobic or homophobic, I usually keep them over there. You feel me? I let people be as long as they leave me be. I would say just let people live. And whatever it is they want to believe, let them believe it, because I would say life will teach you. Life taught me a lot, and I'm still learning. My preference, I coined a term, and that term is feminine. Feminine spectrum masculinity. You know what I mean? I like studs. I like some trans men. But like I said, I like feminine spectrum masculinity. So, although, really masculine trans men and men are good to look at, I prefer a more, feminine visually trans man or stud, nobody that's real hard I'm an emotional person, you know what I mean, and I can admit that. I like to express, and I'm very expressive, and I like those things in return. And usually, somebody who's really masculine usually can't provide me with that. Um, Especially like vocal. I'm big on communication, and like I said, really masculine people, they're not. Uh, they can't. They just can't provide that. They can't provide that. So I like women. I like women, and I like trans men. Um, I guess as far as a cis man, a biological man, it would take a really special guy. Only because a lot of times their perspective and the things that they seek are too basic for me, I guess. They're too overly sexualized. You know what I mean? Um, but if y'all have anything else that y'all want me to touch on, you can either message me on Facebook. Again, that's Sylar Hill, Sylar. And on Instagram, Seer, SYE_SEER. Making donations, monetary as well as material. Um, I can take that by mail, or I can pick it up in reasonable location. Um, if you can donate, even if it's as small as $1, to my Cash App, that is that is $housing. That is $DASHEHOUSING. All of the proceeds are and will be going to the homeless. Those proceeds will be those proceeds will be used to make care packages. If you wish to donate the material, you can donate, mini toothbrushes, toothpaste, crackers, wet ones, sanitary napkins, tampons, towels. If you wish to donate material things, you could please reach me directly. That's on Facebook and Instagram as well. Instagram, Seer, SYE_SEER, or on Facebook, Sylar SYLAR, BERDACHE. Anything that you can afford to give, wish to give, will be greatly appreciated. Thank you.